I think that when we learn lessons, we think, oh, I've learned that one, it'll never happen again, I've done that, that's it. Well, how do you know you've done it unless it comes by once more and see how you react?
I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears. And then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. When you begin to love who you are, then you can love your neighbor because you love yourself.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men all my life. Like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Louise Hay, and my take on her top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Be a lifelong student.
I think we all get certain ahas. And that's when we've sort of learned something. We say, oh, okay. And then if we can keep that, what we've learned, and practice it, then we've made another step and we can move forward. Yes, it's a lifetime journey and we never stop learning. I'm 80 and I'm still learning. Though the lessons are easier now than they used to be. I like to think of it when we start, we have all these boulders in front of us on our pathway, and we start to get the boulders out of the way, and you finally get to the point where it's gravel. And gravel you can handle, you know, and you can sweep gravel, and you can do things. So, and then occasionally there's an old boulder.
Rolls back into your path.
You think, oh, I thought I had that one, but not completely. And you know, also I think that when we learn lessons, we think, oh, I've learned that one, it'll never happen again, I've done that, that's it. Well, how do you know you've done it unless it comes by once more and see how you react? Have you really learned it? Is it really nothing for you? Have you gone beyond that? Or are you going to go right back into the same old reaction? See, we're never wrong. That's what we need to learn that. We're always doing the best we can with the understanding and awareness and knowledge we have at that moment.
Rule number 2, bless with love.
If you're in a job you don't like, if you're in a relationship you don't like, if you're in a house you don't like, and you want something new, begin to bless with love. Interesting. Bless with love where you are. And know that you're releasing your current situation with love. If it's a job, release it with love to the next person who will be delighted to have it. If it's an apartment, do the same thing. If it's a relationship, release that person with love to happiness which is meaningful to them. And that leaves you free to create and accept happiness that is meaningful to you.
Rule number 3, love yourself.
You say you have to start with beginning to love yourself.
I think
you hear a lot of that in the 80s. And what does that mean?
It means to stop putting yourself down, stop criticizing yourself, stop mistreating yourself. Begin to treat yourself as something that's very precious. And when you begin to love who you are, then you can love your neighbor because you love yourself. You see, I don't think we can really love our neighbor till we do love ourselves. The Bible says that.
And is it love that heals, or is it that something that happens inside you that goes?
I think love opens the space. It opens the way for you to create healing for yourself.
Rule number 4, choose your thoughts.
If it is true that your thoughts shape your life, would you want what you were just thinking right now to become true for you? If it's a thought of worry or anger or hurt or revenge or fear, how do you think this thought will come back to you? If you hear yourself expressing negative words of any sort, stop in mid-sentence.
either rephrase the sentence or just drop it. You could even say to it, out. You get to choose any and all thoughts you wish. These thoughts create your future experiences. Let us stay away from thoughts that create problems and pain.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've designed a special free training to help you get it, where every day for the next 254 days, I will send you a link to an unlisted video to your email to every day shift your confidence and self-belief forward. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to make a habit stick. And I want you to get the habit of self-confidence and self-belief. The link to join absolutely for free is in the description below.
When I get to a really good level, then it's like, okay, now we're going to deal with this thing. Yeah. Loving yourself is the most powerful thing we can do. Everything we give out can help people really improve the quality of their lives.
Rule number 5, know your mental patterns.
Some of you know my little blue book and the fact that I've been doing a lot of work with dis-ease for a long time. And for every part of the body, there is a mental pattern. And for every dis-ease in the body, there is a mental pattern. And when you know what they are, you can begin to change the mental patterns so that you can change the dis-ease. You see, we don't want to be sick. Now, that's a blanket statement. Sometimes people do want to be sick because it's a good way to get out of something. The rest of us know how to say no. If you don't know how to say no, you may have to create an illness in order to say no. Because we've made in society, we've made that a legitimate way of getting out of things. But basically, we do not want to be ill, and yet we need every dis-ease that we have, because it is the body's way of telling us that there is a false idea in consciousness. Something that we're doing, something that we're believing, something that we're saying is not for our highest good. And the body is saying, please, and it's sort of almost like tugging, saying, pay attention. So, when we know what these patterns are, it gives us, again, a choice of whether we wish to do something about it or not.
Rule number 6, reevaluate your beliefs.
There are lots of things you can do to help you become more conscious of what is going on. And because so many of our belief systems really are unconscious or subconscious, we're not aware of them. They're just things that were bred into us as we were children, is to take a little time to figure out what they are. And I always say a really good exercise is to take a big sheet of paper and write on top of it, say, what I think about men. And then another one, what I think about women, what do I think about money, what do I think about any subject you can think of. And just write all the things that come out of your thoughts. And whether they sound good or not, just write them down. And any one subject, if you just write them all down and then look at them and see how many are positive and how many are negative. And if you can take those negative ones and turn them around, make them into positive affirmations, then you can start clearing up what you believe about, say, money that is not positive for you, and or is keeping you from bringing money in. And you can do that with lots of things in your life, so you can really begin to realize what you do believe about these things. So you can't change your thoughts if you don't know what your thoughts are. There is a law of thinking, and we are beginning to learn about it. And it is like a computer. If you have this gorgeous computer put in front of you, and you don't know what to do with it, it's a piece of junk. But if you learn the language of the computer, miracles happen. And that is what the law of thinking is. When you learn how it works, miracles happen. What you think and what you believe is what will come true for you. Your thoughts create your life. It's that simple. And when we can get that, we can make enormous changes.
Rule number 7, stop scaring yourself.
Stop scaring yourself. How often do you terrorize yourself with your own thoughts? You get into absolute terror, and it's only coming from your thoughts. Nobody out there is doing a thing. Sometimes it's an old family pattern, sometimes we get new things. I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears, and then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. Turn each one into something positive. And remember, always you are in charge. You are always in charge. See, one idle thought doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Thoughts are like drops of water. You drop a drop of water and it doesn't mean much. But if you keep dropping and keep dropping, you get a puddle on the floor, and then you can get a little pond and a lake, and finally you can create an ocean. And with our own thoughts, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. And it's up to us. The thoughts we think accumulate. And what sort of puddles are you standing in? Or are you up to here? Or are you up to here and trying to paddle? You know, what are you doing to yourself? When we're willing to change our thinking, we can change our experiences. And it doesn't matter if you've got a big puddle of negative thoughts. You know, you can move over here and create a puddle of mindfulness, positive thoughts. You can make changes, always. So you want to turn those fear thoughts into positive affirmations. Let them work for you.
Rule number 8, learn your lesson.
I have a thing, when I was seeing people, that I got to the point where I would not see anyone who did not make their own appointment. I have found occasionally people have sent people to me as a present. Oh, you must go see Louise. Here, I'll give it to you as a present. Every one of those has turned out to be a disaster. Half the time the people didn't turn up. When they did turn up, they weren't really interested. When they seemed to be interested, they never went away and did anything, or if they did, it was a little bit, and they never came back. We have to be ready to do it ourselves. Remember, each person has come to this planet to learn a lesson. You have your lessons, you have your lessons, I have my lessons, you have your lessons. They're all different. We cannot learn the other person's lessons. We are not here to change other people. We are here to change ourselves. That is what we've come to the planet for, to change ourselves. If we try to do it for someone else, or learn their lesson, or make it nice, they don't get to learn it. And even if we fix it, isn't it amazing how they turn around and recreate it again? And we all know people like that. We've paid their rent, or we've gotten them out of some mess, or we've done this for them or that for them. And 2 months later, they're in the same problem, because it's their pattern. It has nothing to do. Teaching them how to get out of it, it is much better if they're willing to learn. So it's like, you know, the student must come to the teacher. And when the student is ready, the teacher is there, always.
Rule number 9, recognize your own worth.
I think it really starts with realizing that you don't love yourself, that most people don't. Most people feel they're not good enough, that they haven't done it right, they won't do it right, they'll never be enough, and they're definitely not lovable. And when we come from that space, it's very hard to create things for ourselves that are really good. So in the early days when I worked with people, I used to fix this problem and fix that problem, and you'd have this, a health thing, and we'd work on that and we'd work on this. And one day I discovered, much to my amazement, that if I would help people learn to love themselves, to really accept themselves as they are, we didn't have to work around problems, because it was almost like a miracle. Everything seemed to fall away. It's a hard one for people because we grow up believing that we're not good enough and nothing is right. I remember lots of times I would ask people, well, what is really wrong with you? What have you done that is so terrible that you're not acceptable to yourself? And I never, ever, ever got an answer that made any sense. You know, they might say something like, well, I'm too fat. Well, so, you know, but when you talk about loving yourself, a lot of people think that that's vanity. But it isn't really. It has nothing to do with that. That is narcissistic. But to really care for you and to acknowledge that you are an important being. It's almost like in the Bible they would say, you recognize that you are a child of God, that therefore you are perfect. But even if you're not a biblical person, if you can recognize that you are a being that has self-worth, if you can really recognize your own worth, then you start to treat yourself differently. And I think that's what's so very important about loving yourself, is you stop beating yourself up, you stop making yourself wrong, you stop talking about how awful you are, and you stop saying things like, I'm really stupid and stuff, and you start to treat yourself with a certain amount of respect. And this makes an enormous difference, because what you give out in life is what comes back to you. So if you're giving out a feeling of, I'm okay, I'm good enough as I am, and I am acceptable, and I love life, and I love me, and you start having gratitude for yourself and for life, then life treats you differently, because you are having a different vibration that you're giving out and getting back. And that's when things really start to flow. Now, a lot of people don't realize it, but you have to practice. You just have to start it. And that's why I try to get people to do a lot of mirror work. If you look in the mirror, just simple things like looking in the mirror in your own eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. And it helps if you use your name, Louise, I love you. I really love you. It gets to that little child inside that has been rejected for so long, and it breaks open sort of a dam or a door or whatever you want to call it, and it's like little miracles start to happen. Lots of little good things happen, and the universe loves grateful people. The more grateful you are, the more you get to be grateful about.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is understand the meaning of prosperity.
People think that prosperity is just money. But really, there's many, many other things that come under this auspices of prosperity. You know, you can be very poor in time. If you feel really rushed all the time and always pressured, you have poverty in your time. But if you feel that you have all the time in the world and that whatever you want to finish, you'll get done and it will all happen, then you're really prosperous in time. And what about success? You know, if you feel that it's really way beyond your reach, then you're never going to get it. But if you feel that you can be successful, whatever that means to you, then that's wonderful. That's prosperity. Wisdom. Do you have prosperity in wisdom? Do you feel that all the wisdom in the universe is available to you? Or do you think, oh, I'm just me and I don't know very much and, you know, I can't figure things out? If you feel that you're really connected with the universe and you really trust that part of you that's inside, then you can be absolutely prosperous in the abundance of wisdom. And what about love? Do you feel that you have an abundance of love? Or are you very poor in love? Is there just a little bit of it in your life? How about joy? Do you feel you're really prosperous and have an abundance of joy? Or is that something you just allow yourself a little bit of now and then? And you really are very poor in joy. And then what about beauty? Do you see beauty everywhere? Do you allow yourself to experience an abundance of beauty? And of course there's money then. There's money too. You know, what do you let yourself have? I like to use that image a lot of the ocean, standing in front of the ocean with a container in your hand. You know, and you're there and you have this container, but what is it? Is it a thimble with a hole in it? Is it a small cracked cup? Is it a mug? Is it a vase? But no matter how much you have, whatever your container it is, and no matter how much you're taking from the ocean of life, and even though we're all standing there, we're not robbing each other, and there's plenty for everyone. And no matter how much we take, there is no way we're going to run that ocean dry. It's absolutely impossible. And if you can see yourself standing at the ocean of life in the same way, and remember the container that you have is your consciousness, and you can always change your consciousness. And it doesn't matter if you came from poverty. It doesn't matter where you came from, and it doesn't even matter what your parents' beliefs were, because it's your consciousness and what you're choosing to think and believe about prosperity and your ability to deserve it is what's going to create it for you.
Now I've got a very special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you get motivated, inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through. But when you get motivated, inspired, and you create a plan of action, you have a over 90% chance of following through. And when you share it with other people, it jumps to 95% chance. Your likelihood of following through. And so I want that to be you from this video. We don't just watch videos here, Believe Nation. We do something. We take action. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Leave it down in the comments below because I want to celebrate you.
I want you to say to yourself your name. I love you. I really, really love you. I love you. I really, really love you. It's a new thing, you probably haven't done it before. But what we're really trying to do is to connect with the inner child within, who has been neglected for so very long. Most of us, when we look in a mirror, we criticize ourselves, we make fun of ourselves, we say derogatory things to ourselves. It's a habit. And what we want you to do is to start connecting with that inner child within you that wants so much to be loved and hasn't been for perhaps years and years and years and years, and maybe never when it was a child. I know this is a tough one to stay, but if it's too tough to start with, you can start with something like, Louise, I'm willing to learn to like you. Not quite so threatening. So I want you to, this is something I want you to do a lot. First thing in the morning, I want you to get in the habit of having your little mirror with you, whipping it out at any time, or any time you pass a mirror, say something nice to yourself. I will look at myself and say, you look fantastic, kid. And sometimes I'll say, you know, you may not be as tight and taut as you used to be, but you're fabulous. You're absolutely wonderful. We want to be our own cheerleader. We want the things that we say to ourselves support us and love us and make us feel good or make us feel silly. You know, you're a hot potato. And it's not only just saying you love yourself, but do your affirmations in front of a mirror. Do forgiveness in front of a mirror. If you have somebody you need to forgive, do it in front of a mirror. And get yourself, if you have a big mirror, sit down in front of it, because you won't run away. You can't. It's too hard to get up. And you can sit there and you can cry, but you'll go through it, whatever it is, and it'll be fast. The mirror, as small as this may be, can really help you connect with yourself. Looking in the mirror and saying, how can I make you happy? What can I do to make you happy today?
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Louise Hay, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
The simple part that most people don't understand is that every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future.
When life calls us